This podcast has been around for a little over a year, and I feel like I want to talk a little bit more about what this podcast is, what we believe, all the things here on Cozy and Thriving. So let's just get into it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Cozy and Thriving. I'm your host, Michaela, and this is a podcast where we just learn to build a life that we actually want to be present for. I realize that I basically ghosted everybody, and it wasn't on purpose, I promise. And to be honest, I am squeezing this in last minute. If you cannot tell, my voice is kind of not there all the way. I got sick, tried to ignore it as best as I could, but I couldn't. The week prior to me getting sick, I had family in town and I literally just had no time to sit down and record a podcast. So here I am, a little less than a week away from going to Florida, and I wanted to get a podcast out before that happened. So here I am. I'm back, everybody. I am so sorry I ghosted you guys all. I'm so mad because I feel like this always happens when I start something new, is I like go super hard and I plan everything, I prep everything, and as soon as it like looks like I'm about to take off, like I go somewhere else and I just don't want to keep doing that. So, a little bit of updates before I get all the way into the episode. So, I am still going to be posting every Friday for Cozy and Thriving, the podcast. It will be on YouTube, it will be on Spotify, and it will be on Apple. Right now, I have put a pause in the subscriptions. I think it's still active on Spotify. However, because I'm going to be out of town and I'm like revamping some things in my business, right now, I'm just not able to create extra episodes. Not saying that I won't ever, but I wanted to make sure that if you guys were paying for it, you were actually getting the episodes. So for right now, I am not doing any more episodes. If you want to listen to some of the other like bonus episodes, you still can pay for them and all of them become available for you. But I will be putting a pin in that for just a little while. The other thing is I'm gearing up to launch social media management for 1008, and I'm so very excited. Right now, I am in the process of growing my business page on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and for some reason I got locked out of my TikTok. So I have to get back into that, but I also want to be growing on there as well for my business. So I would appreciate it if everybody could go and follow 1008 on all of those platforms. It would mean the world to me and it would help me so much. And the last one is just kind of fun, but my studio slash office is pretty much done. This room was supposed to be just my podcast studio. I have turned it completely into my office and I'm actually obsessed with it. I'm calling it 1008 headquarters because this is where I am like birthing my business. It is where I'm building my business. It's where I'm growing my business, growing my podcast, growing everything. And I'm just excited for it. I'm excited for what's to come in 2026. And yeah, so let's get into it. I pulled some questions that I actually asked ChatGPT, and oh, sorry, they are on my computer here, which is also like so cool that I can like record my podcast and be on the computer. I don't know why I feel like that's so cool. I feel more like official, I guess. But yeah, so I pulled some questions from ChatGPT, but I did actually get a question on my YouTube. I screenshotted it so I can read it straight from the screenshot. So I want to start with this question because I feel like it's the most relevant and what I have been talking about recently and just kind of like how I'm trying to get my life in order. So I wanted to answer this so that way I could just kind of like hold myself accountable a little bit. So the question says, I'll read the whole thing. It says, I just want to say I always look forward to your podcast episodes. So thank you for these. Also, I just downloaded Jenna's Notion template, which if you have not watched my YouTube videos, I basically downloaded a Notion template from another creator and I linked it into that video so you guys can grab it. It was so fun customizing it. I was solely a paper planner girly for years, and I just started to shift to digital. Is it a lot to manage both physical and digital planning methods? I've been trying to figure out a new system that works for me that isn't overwhelming. Any tips you may have would be appreciated. I loved that question because I feel like there's so many ways of planning, I guess that's a better way of putting it, that we can kind of get overwhelmed with planning, and planning then just becomes something that we have to, like, try to remember and hopefully we remember. But I think I have found out the best way to plan for myself. Of course, everybody's different, so definitely figure out what works best for you, but I just wanna share what I do in case, like, you're anything like me. The first thing that I do is I have my daily focus planner, and if you have been with me for any amount of time, you already know I love this planner, and I believe that it was made for me. I just truly do. It is, like, structured in a way to where I understand it and to where it makes sense and it's not overwhelming and I don't have to write a million things down. I realize that there's a lot of planners and there's a lot of Notion templates and a lot of things that just have a lot of extra parts and lines and everything, and you want to fill them all out. You want to use them, but you never do. So I think that's what is very overwhelming. So for me, the daily focus planner is just very plain and simple. Every single day, you have your top 3 priorities, and then you can write down all your tasks. And then if you have anything else that you want to do that day, you can write it down. And then also, it has like a little note section, so you can write things down throughout the day in that little note section. And then every single week, you can journal. So if you're somebody who doesn't journal daily or you just have a hard time journaling, this is something that you reach for every single week. So you know, or I should say every single day. So you know you're going to open it. So then you're able to just journal right then and there. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, and I 100% recommend getting it. I will have the link below. You get 10% off your first order using my code, and I just yeah, I absolutely love it, and once this one is out, I'm definitely buying another one because I just it was made for me. It was made for me. So how I balance both digital and physical planning is I basically just hold on to my physical planner, and that's like my every day. That's what I grab for every single day. Digitally planning is something where I did plan for the future and where I'm not having to look at it every single day. So on my Apple calendars, it's where I will put upcoming trips, if I'm going out with friends, if I am planning something with my husband, if I'm planning something with anybody, planning for my business, whatever. It goes into my calendar so that way when I pull up my calendar, I'm like, "Oh, actually I can't go this day or I can't do something this day," or I have to kind of restructure and figure out different film days because, like, I'm going out of town next week, so I have to film earlier than I would. I'll do things like that so I'm not overwhelmed with trying to put it in my physical planner, and it can always be changed and moved, and it's kind of just a placeholder digitally. Same with the Notion template. It's something that I have my quarterly goals, my yearly goals, and just the things that I want to do going forward and in the future rather than every single day. Like, I'm not in my Notion template every single day, and I'm not, like, checking it every single day. I'm not doing stuff in there every single day. It's only in my physical planner that I do that. I think that pen and paper just works the best for me, so that's why I use it that way, but some people, don't wanna use it that way, so that's fine too. So I wanted to answer that question first because it has nothing to do with the rest of what I'm gonna answer today. I basically asked ChatGPT to act like it was an audience member. I was like, "Forget your roboticness right now and tap into humanity and ask questions that you think would go with my podcast." But the other thing that I wanted it to do was to make sure that it was a cohesive episode. And if you have any additional questions, I would love to continue to do Q&A podcast episodes. I think that it's a way to not only connect with you guys, but also to just know exactly what you guys are wanting to hear from me. So that's that. I'm going to start answering the questions now. So, okay, number 1, the question is from ChatGPT. Remember, okay? This is not a real human being, but ChatGPT was acting and being tapped into humanity. So number 1 was, "I want a soft life, but I also want success. How do you not feel guilty resting?" So I love this question because I think that a lot of times, especially in my field or just being a business owner online, we see, oh, you're this, and you're wearing all these hats, and you're multiple different positions, and you do all of these different things. And we feel like we can't sit down, we feel like we can't rest. And I realize this might not be for everybody, but I realize for me that I cannot function burnt out. Like, I just have no motivation. I wanna quit everything, and when I say quit everything, I mean, I don't wanna do my business anymore. I just rather, like, be a homemaker, which I still am, and my home is my number 1 priority. But I know that there's this ambition inside of me, and there's things that I want to grow. There's businesses that I want to, or pieces of my business. I already have the business, but there's pieces of my business that I want to see flourish and succeed. I want to build my business to where it can help support other people because I'm able to pay them. Like, I have big visions and big goals, but I don't feel guilty resting because I know that if I don't rest, I'm not going to be 100%. And if I'm not 100%, I'm literally 0%. And I literally can't function on 0%. So that's just how, for me, I don't feel guilty. But I feel like if I were to explain this to anybody else and say, like, resting is necessary. I actually tell this to my husband all the time, and just like other people around me, is that I have set up my life to where I know when I need to rest and when I can kind of like push through a little bit. But rest is so important, and it's actually so productive. And I know that sounds so like cliche. I don't know. I feel like I hear a lot of slow living people say that, or people that have businesses, they will always say like, rest is productivity, and you're actually being productive when you're doing nothing and things like that. And for me, rest isn't not doing anything. Rest is actually just like resetting your brain. It's making sure that you're still enjoying your life and building a life that you actually want to be present for. It's just taking a step back and making sure that you're not going to be burnt out going forward, that you're not going to want to quit your business. It's not going to make you hate your business. It's just to help you continue the growth cycle. And I just think of like kind of like babies and toddlers. Babies and toddlers take naps. I think the younger they are, the more naps during the day they take. Even my dog, like when we first got her, I was like, she's sleeping a lot. Like, is this normal? And I looked it up, and they literally sleep. I think puppies are supposed to sleep 16 to 20 hours a day. It's part of the growth cycle. 16 to 20 hours, that's so much resting. We weren't created to not rest. We weren't created to hustle. We were actually created to have balance in that. So I would not feel guilty for resting because of everybody around you or what you're doing or the ambition that you have. Like, rest is part of that. Rest is necessary and a necessity in that. Okay, so number 2 is, how do you know when it's time to push yourself versus when it's time to rest? So this is a really good question because I think that when I first started, I didn't really know, and I would just kind of ride my motivation. And when I would ride my motivation, it would definitely propel me forward. Like, I would do things to keep going forward. But then there came a time where my motivation stopped, so my production stopped, my content stopped, my business stopped, everything. When I had a nail business, this is how I basically ran my business all the time. I would get burnt out, I would get tired, I would not want to do it anymore. And then I would come back, I would revamp everything because I was like, maybe it's just I need to rebrand everything. Maybe it's just I'm not feeling where my business is at the moment. That's not the case either. I literally just got burnt out and then felt like there needed to be some type of change, some type of thing happen to make me motivated again. When in reality, if I had taken the time to, yes, you can ride your motivation if you're like able to work more than 8 hours a day, go for it, but just know, like, I would personally say take at least 1 full 24 hours to do nothing work related, because that is what's going to help you have that balance of rest. It's also going to help you, I don't know, for me, it helps me kind of crave that rest even more. It gives me a sense of, like, I don't have this, like, constant cycle of constantly doing, which makes it feel more exciting to go back to work on Monday because I love what I do. I love my job, I love my business, I love all of it. So, when on Sunday I'm not working at all, or when I have family come and I, like, take off, or I go on vacation or whatever, when I come back, I'm excited because I get to sit down and do what I love to do without the rebranding, without, like, trying to get some new motivation. Like, I just was able to have that rest. So, yes, there's gonna be nights, there's gonna be days where you have to kind of push through the, "I wanna rest," or I don't feel like doing this right now," or, "I'd rather be doing something else." There are those days, but I think that you'll know for the most part, if you start to plan your rest and put your rest in certain spots and not negotiate on them, you'll be okay. And you won't feel guilty. You'll be able to know the balance, and you'll know what works best for you. And of course, I'm not saying everybody copy exactly what I'm doing, but figure out what works for you and figure out what is the best way to operate. If you're in business, if you're taking a business, if you have ambition, or even if you're just building something in your life that you want to be present for. If it's a business, if it's a hobby, if it's a home, if it's a family, whatever it is, like, just knowing the balance between resting for yourself and being productive and building and being a homemaker and being a wife and being a mom and being all these other things that we as women can and are doing and being. Okay, number 3 is a big one. Do you ever feel behind compared to other women your age, and what do you do when that comparison creeps in? This, I think, is a big thing, and I think that just as human beings, we have a tendency to look at what other people are doing and compare ourselves to them and where they are. I know that I do that a lot, and I feel like, sometimes I'll use my nail business, for example. There have been times within the last 2 years that I've had 1008, alive and well, that I was like, if I just stuck to my nail business, would I be further along in a business career than I am right now? And I look at, the people that I followed when I was doing nails and seeing how they stayed in that, and they're growing and they're doing new things, and they're having more business ventures. But the thing is that is not a passion of mine enough to continue to do nails for other people. I love nails, it's a hobby of mine, and I will do them for people who ask, kind of, and, I do them for myself all the time. So, it's not that I don't like nails in general, it's that I don't like the business aspect of the nail world and of the nail industry. I just don't want to be, um working in that. However, I'm still in it and I still follow it and I still look at a lot of nail things, but that's just because it's a hobby of mine. If I were to now try to go back into the nail world, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should stay there. Maybe I should go back into the nails because I am good at it. I can just jump back in where I started. I would literally be starting from ground zero because things have changed since I have left the nail industry. The platform has changed, so just because my stuff may have been doing well then doesn't mean that it'll be doing well now. I don't know all of the trends and all of the things. I don't keep up with all of it. It's not like I would be going back as an expert. I would be going back as a student. And I think as business people, we're learning all the time. So, yes, I compare myself to a lot of people, but then I have to remember, like, I'm the only one who can do what I'm doing like me. I'm the only one who am Michaela. I am the only one who is me, and I'm the only one who will do business like me, and I'm the only one who is me in my life, and I get to create a life that I want to be present for. And whether or not somebody does it in their 30s or their 40s or in their 20s, they are building a life they want to be present for, and they're on their own path. I'm on my own path. When that comparison comes in, that's what I tell myself is that I'm the only one that can do it like me. Whether it's in business or not, I'm the only one who can do it like me. And God called me to do it this way and not any other way. And I'm following his leading. And there's no need to compare myself to anyone else. Yes, that is what I say because it does happen, and, sometimes I think that we grow up, I don't know, like, as millennials, and I feel like even as, like, older Gen Z, I feel like I'm right on the cusp because I was born in '95, so I feel like I'm, like, in the millennial group, but then I'm also, like, in the, like, older Gen Z group, and I feel like a lot of us have just been kind of like taught like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna stay 20 forever. I don't wanna get to 30. I'm getting so old." And I was feeling that way until I hit like 26, 27, and then I was like, "You know what? I'm ready to be 30. I'm ready to like start this new decade." And it's like a new era of new beginnings. And so I feel like if I were to just wanna stay stuck in my 20s forever, I wouldn't grow. I wouldn't be able to, like, start to reap the benefits of being 30. Everything that I've learned and everything that I've built in my 20s, I wouldn't be able to live if I could just stay in my 20s. I would just be in my 20s building forever. You're only between the ages of, like, 10 and 12, which is actually insane, of being out on your own. Like, 18, you had just graduated high school, and now you're figuring out life, so now you're, like, 12. A 12-year-old is still figuring out life. So just give yourself some grace, okay? Give yourself some grace. Number 4 is, have you ever had to let go of a version of your life you thought you wanted? And the short answer to that is yes. The short answer to that is very much so. I wanted to be a wedding photographer that lived in New York and flew back and forth between New York and England, London to be exact. And when I tell you that I feel like just now I've gotten over wanting to live in New York, I've literally just gotten over it within the last year. I think that I wanted to have this life that felt like, I feel like people that live in New York have this aesthetic. It's like a dream for a lot of people to live there and get there, and you feel like you've made it. And I was so against living where I live and wanting to move so bad that it was just like almost making me feel like I was drawing myself even more to New York. But I had been going for the last 2 years for Christmas, and the more that I was there, yes, it's like there's like way more people there during the Christmas season and like tourists and everything out. But when I was there, I was like, as wonderful as this is, as fun as this is, I would not be able to live this life. I am slow. I am like cozy, and I just want everybody to be cozy. Like, one thing that I love about living in a beach area, in a beach town, is that when it gets dark outside, everybody is kind of going to sleep. Of course, not everybody's asleep. There's still people out, but like the lights are off, people are asleep, people are down. And I like that. I like that everybody's like winding down and being cozy all at the same time. That wouldn't happen in New York. So there was a version of me that, was going to be this photographer, and I was going to be like back and forth and traveling the world and doing all of these things. And not that I don't want to travel, but I'm realizing how much more I love to be home. And I'm loving how much more I love to have vacation, but I also love having roots. I love having my family and my friends around. I love being able to have community like on a daily basis. So I'm not trying to get to a point where I am that girl who is traveling back and forth and never home and always on the airplane and always in the air. I'm not trying to be that girl. I'm trying to be who God has called me to be and who God is turning me into, and I'm trusting him with that. But letting go of that was very hard, I think, because you feel like you are letting go of somebody that you once knew and you don't know the person you're going to be and the person you're turning into, and that can feel a little bit scary, but I promise you that if you just lean into it, it's so much better on the other side, and you get to romanticize new things, like romanticizing living near the beach. And where I live is so diverse. There's so many different ways of living here, suburbs, city, the boondocks, like country living. There's so many spots and I get to romanticize that. I get to experience that. I get to love that. I get to live that. And I think that's just the beauty of being able to let go of what you thought you were going to be and allowing yourself to turn into a new version of yourself. 5, I don't really like this question from ChatGPT, but it says, "What do you do when you wake up and immediately feel overwhelmed?" Personally, I have never felt that, so I can't speak from a place of experience. But if I were to give somebody advice on that question, my advice would literally be to pray, to go to God and give him that, because waking up overwhelmed, there has to be something serious going on to feel that, and so I would just encourage you to pray, encourage you to go to the Bible, encourage you to, give it to God, because um, that's a lot, that's heavy, and I wouldn't want anybody feeling like that, and it's definitely not cozy, it's definitely not slow living, and it's definitely um not the course that I would wanna take, so that's my advice that I would give. Again, I can't speak from a place of experience because I've never felt that way, but that's the advice that I would give if, I were to give any. Okay, and number 6 is, what does thriving actually mean to you right now? And I think that this is, like, a beautiful closing question, because my whole podcast is about thriving. It's about being cozy. It's about being in this slow lifestyle, but also thriving, being ambitious, and reaching for your goals. And right now, thriving to me looks like just embracing the things that kind of scare me. And what I mean by that is me adding a new service onto my business, which would be social media management. Adding that onto my business is actually scary because I don't feel qualified. And I say that loosely, like I don't feel qualified. I know I am qualified because I've been doing it for so long. I've been managing my own accounts. I've been on social media long enough to know kind of like the ins and outs and the things that people are wanting and the things that people aren't wanting and all the things. But at the same time, when you're the one that is responsible for posting for other people and learning their voice, learning their brand, learning all of these things, it is different and it is a little bit scary. And I've been doing a trial with a couple of people who I just thank God for them for allowing me to do this, and help them and them help me, and everything. It's new, it's different, it's something that I've never done before, and that's what thriving feels like right now to me. And it also is just like thinking bigger for my business. I think for a long time I was thinking that it was going to be like right here, standard, nothing extremely new, nothing like over the top. But there's things that I want to do and there's things that I know I'm gonna need help for, and I want to be able to dream bigger and do bigger things. And so thriving right now, like I said, just is like embracing the things that feel scary, the things that feel a little bit bigger than me, and just leaning into them and allowing myself to do them and just get there, do it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. I thank you guys so much for listening and being here. I again am so sorry that I ghosted you guys and I'm so sorry that it just like was out of the blue. There was no like, hey, I'm not going to be here. There was none of that. So, I apologize. I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. I will have another episode coming out next week because I'm going to literally record the next one. right now, like right after this. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, week, evening, night, morning, all the things. Don't forget to follow me on all social platforms at Michaela E. Barnes and 1008 Creations, which is literally 1008 Creations on literally every single platform you can find us on. And I thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to like, rate, share, comment, subscribe. And until next week, bye everybody.